Simple Tales presents The Golden Swan of Saraswati, an Indian folktale. Have you ever wondered why wisdom is often pictured beside a calm white swan instead of a mighty lion or a soaring eagle? Many admire strength, others chase wealth. But the old storytellers of India believed that true wisdom arrives quietly, asking only for a heart willing to listen. This is the story of the Golden Swan of Saraswati. Long ago, when forests stretched farther than kingdoms and rivers carried songs older than memory, there stood a peaceful lake hidden among blooming lotus flowers. Its waters reflected the sky so perfectly that travelers often paused, unsure where the earth ended and heaven began. The people called it the Lake of Silence. They believed the goddess Saraswati herself sometimes visited its shores at dawn. On mornings when the mist floated low across the water, they left simple offerings of flowers instead of jewels. For wisdom, they believed, could never be bought. Near the lake lived a poor young student named Anand. His family owned little more than a clay house and a small patch of grain. Every evening, after helping his parents in the fields, Anand walked to the lakeshore, carrying a worn palm leaf manuscript. He studied by fading sunlight until darkness made the letters disappear. One evening, an old merchant stopped beside him. "Why work so hard?" the merchant asked. "Knowledge cannot fill an empty stomach." Anand smiled politely. "Perhaps not today, but it may teach me how to feed many tomorrow." The merchant laughed and continued on his journey. Years passed. Anand's clothes became worn, his books grew older, but his love of learning never faded. One quiet spring morning, before sunrise, Anand arrived earlier than usual. The lake was perfectly still. Then he heard the sound of wings, not loud, soft, almost musical. From the silver mist emerged the most beautiful swan he had ever seen. Its feathers shone like polished gold beneath the rising sun. Each movement scattered tiny ripples of light across the water. The bird glided silently toward the shore. Anand stood frozen. The swan looked directly into his eyes. Then it spoke. "You have sought wisdom for many years." Its voice was gentle, like water flowing over smooth stone. "I serve Saraswati, the guardian of knowledge." Anand immediately bowed. "I am honored." The swan tilted its graceful head. "Many come here asking for riches. Many ask for power. What do you seek?" Anand answered without hesitation. "I wish to understand enough that my knowledge may help others." The swan remained silent for a long moment. At last, one shining golden feather drifted gently onto the shore. "Take this. It will provide whatever wealth you need. But remember, each feather freely given carries a blessing. Each feather taken through greed becomes ordinary." The swan spread its wings once more and disappeared into the morning mist. Anand carefully picked up the feather. It felt warm, almost alive. When he sold it in the nearest city, the gold brought enough money to repair his parents' home, buy books, and feed several hungry families besides. He kept nothing extravagant for himself. News spread quickly. People wondered how a poor student had suddenly become generous instead of wealthy. Some admired him, others grew suspicious. Among them was Govind, the richest merchant in the region. One afternoon he visited Anand. I hear fortune has smiled upon you." Anand simply smiled. "It has shown me kindness." Govind's sharp eyes noticed a single golden feather resting inside Anand's study. "Where did you find such a treasure?" Anand hesitated. Then he remembered the swan's warning. It was a gift. Govind leaned closer. "If one feather is worth so much, imagine the bird." That night, Govind sat alone in his counting house. He looked at his chests of silver and felt only emptiness. Then he looked at the memory of the golden feather, and a hunger woke in him that no amount of wealth could satisfy. Before dawn, he hid among the reeds beside the lake, carrying a large silk net. Hours passed. At last, the golden swan appeared. Its brilliant feathers reflected the first light of morning. The merchant sprang forward. The net flew through the air. For one brief moment, the swan was trapped. Govind laughed with delight. "My fortune is mine." Without waiting, he began pulling handfuls of shining feathers from the frightened bird. One after another, each feather turned dull grey the instant it left the swan. Within moments, they became nothing more than ordinary feathers, worthless. Govind stared in disbelief. "No, this cannot be." The swan looked at him with quiet weariness. "You wished to possess what was only meant to be received." The torn net suddenly unraveled. The swan stepped free without anger. Its golden feathers slowly returned, brighter than before. With one powerful sweep of its wings, it rose into the morning sky. Govind fell to his knees, surrounded by piles of useless feathers. His wealth remained. Yet for the first time in his life, it felt painfully empty. When Anand later heard what had happened, he hurried to the lakeshore. The golden swan appeared once more. "I am sorry," Anand said. "I should never have spoken about your gift." The swan gently shook its head. "You spoke honestly. Another chose greed. There is no shame in kindness." Anand lowered his eyes. "I no longer need gold. I have enough." The swan smiled. "That is why I have one final gift." It touched the surface of the lake with its beak. Golden ripples spread across the water. Anand did not feel smarter. He felt quieter inside. And in that quiet, the lessons he had struggled to learn finally made room for themselves. The swan spoke once more. "Wisdom is the only treasure that grows when it is shared." Then it vanished forever into the morning light. Years passed. Anand became one of the most respected teachers in the kingdom. Students traveled from distant lands to learn beneath the banyan tree, where he welcomed everyone equally. The children of farmers sat beside the sons of nobles. Questions were never mocked. Mistakes were never punished. Every lesson began with gratitude. People often asked him the secret of his wisdom. Anand always smiled. "The greatest teacher I ever met never asked for payment. It only asked what I wished to do with what I learned." Generations later, pilgrims still visited the quiet lake. Some hoped to glimpse the golden swan. Others came seeking hidden treasure. Most found only peaceful water reflecting the open sky. Yet those who arrived with humble hearts often left carrying something far more valuable than gold. A deeper love of learning. The old storytellers of India never claimed that the golden swan still lives upon a hidden lake. They believed something far more enduring. Wisdom is not found in golden feathers or hidden treasures. It is found in the moment we stop hoarding what we know and begin planting it in others. Unlike gold, it grows when it is given away. Thank you for listening to Simple Tales. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more timeless tales from around the world. Until next time, may your mind remain curious and your heart remain humble.